Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another speculation video. So, as the sun sets on the current roadmap for The Sims 4, we're probably not far away from another roadmap, since the current quarter is going to end with the month of April, and then another one would begin in May. While I'm personally not in any sort of rush for new content, especially considering the buggy state of the game and The Sims getting so many comments about, hey, stop releasing packs and fix the game already, that's not stopping them from releasing new packs. And actually, this quarter has been pretty slow overall for really big releases. The only one is the Crystal Creation stuff packs, because the kits don't really count as major releases. They typically get announced just a couple of days before they're out, and that's it, a blip on the radar. And I think this upcoming quarter is going to be different, and I might as well get my speculation now, because they don't always wait until the next quarter to put out its roadmap, kind of like what they did last fall. I'm sure we'll get more kits, and they always seem to release them in 2, so we're probably getting either 2 or 4 of them. But we just got the Urban Homage and Party Essentials kits pretty recently, so I can't say for sure if they're going to start out this next quarter with kits or if it'll be something else. I don't think we're going to be getting another stuff pack so soon. They'll probably be in quarter 3. So I think aside from kits, an expansion pack is the most likely thing, whether the game is ready for it or not. Yeah, we typically get an expansion pack during the summer. As for game packs, yeah, I would say it would also feel like it's around time for one of those too, but the rumor mill is suggesting otherwise. I keep seeing Headfordhead on Twitter saying that, oh, we're not getting any game packs for quite a while. He seems to know something the rest of us don't, and considering stuff packs just came back after a very, very long break, I guess game packs have taken that spot. With the next generation of The Sims, Project Renee being in the works, perhaps EA is just not giving them enough staff to work on 4 DLC types at the same time, which, well, is quite a lot to develop at the same time for sure. But with more game packs probably being a long ways off, that's leading me into saying something many of you probably don't want to hear, and it's that fairies are probably a long ways off too, because occults seem to be the best way for the dev team to give us occults with a decent amount of depth, because we've had, like, for example, aliens and Get to Work, and mermaids and Island Living, with both of those being expansion packs, and they both are just not nearly as interesting as, say, vampires and werewolves, which are both in game packs. On the other hand, though, don't lose hope for fairies if you have been hoping for them, because there's been some discussion with the Party Essentials kit because they have a couple of butterfly-themed objects in them. Butterflies are often associated with fairies because of their wing shape, so yeah, that could make sense if they were trying to hint at fairies, but if they were all swatches related to butterflies for those 2 objects, then I'd be a bit more inclined to think that they could be hints, but it still feels like a stretch to me. One that I feel like was more obvious of a case was in Cats and Dogs. They had those seasonal calendars with the pets on them, so that just seemed way more suspicious as like a hint towards seasons, and then that ended up being the next expansion pack right after. What about the object descriptions though? Well, neither the board or the light mention anything about fairies, so no leads going on there. So I think the only hope for fairies this coming quarter or even this year is if they were to do something like the Supernatural expansion pack for The Sims 3, where they put multiple occults in one pack. But they've already gotten almost all of the really popular occults out of the way, like vampires and werewolves, so I feel like that would be a harder sell, unless they just focused on, say, 2 of them, because one weakness I think of Horse Ranch is that they didn't really give us full-on unicorn. Sure, there's like the horn with a little bit of a special effect alongside it, but it's not the same. They don't have any special powers or anything like they did in The Sims 3 Pets. So perhaps they could put fairies and unicorns together in a summer expansion pack. I suppose it could kind of make sense that way. And then hopefully they can make the fairies a lot more interesting, because I'm so worried that fairies would just end up being spellcasters with wings, and then that would be the #1 complaint after so many requests for fairies, unless it ends up being very buggy. But I mean, aside from that. And while putting unicorns in another pack would give that sort of DLC for DLC vibes, I think they could pull it off in a similar way to Snowy Escape. You don't need seasons in order to have snow in Mount Komorebi, so they could make it so that unicorns can still exist separately from the horses. So if you were to have this theoretical Sims 4 Supernatural, and you just have that and not Horse Ranch, you would have unicorns, but you wouldn't have any regular horses. And if you only had Horse Ranch, you would still just have regular horses without any special powers, just the fake unicorn horn that doesn't do much. But then if you have both packs, then you could unlock a quest line where your Sims could help their horses turn into unicorns. And if a regular horse breeds with a unicorn, there could be a 50-50 chance their offspring is a unicorn. However, I think a stronger candidate for an expansion pack would be centered around hobbies. Not simply just adding a couple activities, but a full-on hobby system, much like what we had in The Sims 2 Free Time. And funny enough, Magnetic recently did reply to a tweet by Simsy45 asking for a free time sort of pack, like having hobbies that are in-depth, classes that you can take, talent, hobby enthusiasm, contests, etc., and having things like sports, pottery, instruments, sewing, and fun stuff to do. That's not just clubbing and partying. All Magnetic did was reply with a thinking emoji, and of course, in typical Sims community fashion, some people were already thinking, okay, maybe this is a hint towards a hobbies expansion, but if you follow Magnetic, he jokes around a lot, so I'm not going to completely take that at face value. Don't get me wrong, I've been a huge advocate for a free time expansion pack for years, and that has not changed. And of course, it would be a great way to bring back my beloved cars. But I think if this means anything, it's just that he's saying, hey, this is a good idea, and I would like to see it, but it's not necessarily a confirmation that it will happen. But I think there is a good chance either way that we'll get a hobbies pack eventually. There's only so many more ideas they can fit into expansion packs, especially now that they've done pretty much all the really obvious things like pets and seasons and university and generations. I will say though, if they were to do this, they don't need to include a new world with it. If it means getting more gameplay activities, I don't think The Sims 2 Free Time even needed a new neighborhood in order for it to be good. Desiderata Valley is often more of an afterthought for me, even though it's not a bad neighborhood by any means. But yeah, Seasons did not need a new world for that to be good, so I think I just want to have a lot of new hobbies that can be applied across a whole variety of different families and a whole bunch of different worlds. So hobbies, I don't think, is an idea that demands a new world as part of its core, like say Snowy Escape or Island Living. Another expansion pack idea that I think would make a lot of sense, especially with summer around the corner, is hotel management. It is something that for a long time I've thought of as a game pack, because it's like, okay, what other ideas can we come up with for game packs besides occult stuff? And I think hotels is a pretty obvious one. I mean, we got Dine Out as a business sort of game pack, so hotels, I think, can fall under that same sort of umbrella. But then looking at the most recent expansion packs like Horse Ranch and For Rent, Horse Ranch feels like something that could have been a game pack but was blown up into an expansion pack. And For Rent, well, we already had apartments in City Living, but then it was given its own separate expansion pack where it is more fleshed out. So I would not be surprised if they went this sort of direction with hotels, but blew it up into more of a travel and tourism idea where you get a new world, maybe it would have 3 neighborhoods, hopefully, and then they could include a few sports related activities with it, like pool tables, we're still missing those, or volleyball, or tennis, or improving pools. I think that would be the most likely thing alongside hotels. We still don't have curved edges for pools, or a regular sort of height diving board, or even a pool slide. I did a whole My Sims 4 wishlist episode dedicated to stuff that they could still add to pools, so they could add a couple of them into a resort pack, but still have some that they could put into a Hobbies expansion pack too. However, there is a big factor I think that would be against hotels coming out as soon as this summer, and it's that the core of it would feel pretty similar to For Rent. Because even though City Living and For Rent have a similar feature, they came out many years apart. So I don't know if they would release 2 sort of apartment-like expansion packs in a row. But hey, at least if they could give us a free update to improve pools this summer, then at least that would be something. One last idea I have for a summer-themed expansion pack would be bands. I think they could make sense for the season, especially having outdoor concerts, and this is another idea I've wanted for a long time that I initially thought would make sense as a game pack, but depending on how many instruments they have in it, and hopefully it would be able to have singers as part of the bands instead of it being a totally separate career, then I think they would end up doing bands as an expansion pack, and Horse Ranch especially drove that idea into my head. Unlike Fairies and hotels, I can't think of a single big factor that would prevent a bands type pack from coming out this summer, and I could imagine music being the central theme of a future Sims 4 roadmap. And then it could tease an expansion pack, and it's like, oh, well, if they're gonna have this whole theme centered around music, then we're probably getting bands. Just like how with the last roadmap, the central theme was jewelry, and that, of course, ended up being the theme of Crystal Creations, which was the biggest thing that we got. Oh yeah, there is one other thing to talk about too, because there is one piece of content that we know we're getting in the next quarter, and that is this new Locks hairstyle that is the second part of the collaboration with Dark and Lovely, because we got those ombre hair recolors in a Sims Delivery Express drop pretty recently, but then in another one that is coming out in July, which does sound like that would be around the time that we would get a new expansion pack. So I don't know if thematically that might be going alongside an expansion pack, or if it is just truly its own thing. We've had several expansion packs at this point where culture is an important part of it, so maybe we'll finally get an African-inspired world in the next expansion pack, because they have not touched that continent at all in The Sims 4's lifespan, and I think we're well overdue for that to finally become resolved. I'm just not sure what the main gameplay draw would be. Would it be bands, but then a couple of the instruments would be African inspired? Like, we've actually had this African drum icon ever since the game first released. I believe this is called a djembe. I may be wrong, but that would be kind of interesting to see that finally become a gameplay object instead of it just being a random icon. Whatever does come out this summer though, I think we are going to get something that's being highly requested. I saw near the beginning of this month, Singru Nova tweeted this thread saying, "Second time this week that I've gotten excited about something at work and being like, oh my god, I can't wait to tweet about this, and stopped myself because I'm not trying to lose my job. It shall have to wait, I fear. Something of the redacted sort, to be clear. You know what, because I love you guys, once I'm able to, I'm gonna quote tweet this and actually say what it is. I'm straight up going to set a calendar reminder right now." SimGurus hyping up their own packs is nothing new, but it seems like she is particularly excited about this one, so my gut feeling is saying that this isn't just like some random thing that nobody asked for. It is something that she is really, really excited for us to see, because it would theoretically be something that she might have wanted to put in the game for quite a while, but is finally getting to be able to do that now. To wrap things up, it's really hard to try and figure out where this next quarter could be going. We don't have a lot of hints, and summer is one of those times where we could get a lot of content or not much at all, because we did get 3 expansion packs last year. I would not be surprised if we went all the way back down to 1 this year because of that, and then save that expansion pack for the fall, which is closer to those all-important holiday sales. So we might not even get an expansion pack this summer, and it could just be a summer of kits, which, oh boy, would not be all that interesting probably. There is one thing that I can guarantee though, no matter how loud we yell, and it's that we're gonna be getting plenty of new bugs, especially if we get another expansion pack. It's just, the bar is so low that I can only hope that it's not at least as buggy as Forret was. I'm so glad that we have a talented group of modders that can fix many issues with the game, but we should not have to rely on them for things that Maxis should be fixing themselves, especially considering there are people who either can't or don't want to use mods. But anyways, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, your predictions for this upcoming summer for The Sims 4. And be sure to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my latest gaming content. I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!